From Isolation Studios, it's Richard Krause.
Welcome, everybody, to In Isolation With. It's the talk show where we make a connection without actually making contact. I hope that you're staying well, that you're staying healthy, you're staying at home, and you're staying happy. A little bit later, we'll meet actor Laura Vandervoort. We talk about everything from a consultation with a psychic for her dog. We talk about starring in a remake of David Cronenberg's Rabid, and how the only thing worse than being covered in fake blood on a film set is actually having to drink this stuff. First up, though, a little story that I saw in the news about Tom Hanks and his wife Rita Wilson and how they're doing their part to stop COVID-19. Now, after they both recovered from COVID-19, it was determined that their blood carries antibodies that could be used by medical researchers who were developing a vaccine for the coronavirus. Tom Hanks, in a statement, says, and I love this, he says they will be giving their blood to, quote, the places that hope to work on what I would like to call the Hanksine. Tom and Rita, the Hankses, they're good people. Now, let's get to know the star of Smallville, Bitten, V, and many other things, including Rabid, which goes to VOD this weekend. I asked Laura Vandervoort how she's making out in isolation. This is what she had to say.
Probably the same as everyone. Every day is different. Some days it's great. I'm doing things that I've been wanting to do for a while, like painting and reading and all of that. And some days aren't so great. I'm actually staying with my sister right now, watching her kids because her and her husband still have to work. So I'm now like a full-time teacher nanny, and let's call that fun and a learning curve for sure.
How's homeschooling going? Do the kids understand what's happening? Are they old enough to understand?
Yeah, they're 3 and 6, and my sister and her husband are very much into telling them what's going on and asking how they're feeling every day, just to check in with them. I mean, they definitely, like every kid, miss going to the park and playing with their friends in school. But the 6-year-old is very smart, so he's doing a grade higher than he actually is. And so we're working on that. And the 2-year-old just like colors. So that's her homework, and ABC mouse and working on the alphabet. Yeah. That's not too tough.
You're passing the time by reading, doing all that kind of stuff. Is there something that you miss? Is there a thing, if you could pinpoint it, that you wish you could run out of the house and do right now?
My stress reliever has always been just going to like a workout class. So, going back to my spin class, or being able to go with my friends to an escape room, because I love doing that. Yeah. Bit of a nerd. So yeah, just like social things. I'm an introvert, so quarantine isn't that difficult for me. It's pretty close to my regular life. But I do miss just being able to go out and have lunch with friends.
And you did something unusual today. So just as we were getting set up and started there, your very cute dog was sitting on your lap. Now she's run away. I'm not sure where she is, but you took her to a dog psychic today. Is that right?
Well, yes, we FaceTimed, obviously. We couldn't go to this woman, but my sister and I heard of her, and she's in Toronto, and she did a reading for our 2 dogs who are alive and my sister's dog who had passed. And I mean, I was a skeptic, and I'm still kind of a skeptic, but she hit on some pretty interesting things there's no way she could have known about. And my sister was crying within a minute because her dog that had passed away came through right away and said, I want you to know that all of my limbs are working now and I'm running around. And her dog had lost the ability to walk at the end. So there's no way she would have known that. Yeah. There's just cool stuff like that. Yeah.
That is heart-wrenching.
Yeah. I was getting emotional for her. But I'm going to do another session so I can talk to my dog, Frankie, a little more. She didn't come in till the end. So.
Right. And what kind of, you don't have to get into real specifics here, but are you just asking, are you happy? Are you feeling anxiety? What kind of things are you hoping to get out of that?
For myself, my dog's a rescue. So I actually just wanted to know what her previous life was like, why she was on the street, what happened to her, if she's accepting of me as her owner, if she's okay with the transitions we've recently had in our living situations, like, I sound like a crazy dog person, but she's my baby. So even if it is what it is, if it, it helped my sister heal today. She asked the dog if it was okay that they made the choice, that she was at the end of her life, to take her to the vet, and the dog confirmed, it just made my sister feel better.
And I think any kind of comfort in these strange kind of times, I think any kind of comfort that you can take is worthwhile.
Oh, for sure.
I've been reading about you. The first role that you ever did was on a show called Goosebumps. So
Yeah.
Rabid, and a lot of the work that you've done between Goosebumps and that, there seems to be a bit of a straight line to it. You have made a lot of horror films and a lot of spooky material. Are you a fan? I mean, tonight when you hunker down for the night, will you throw a horror movie in the DVD player?
I am a horror movie fan, thriller. I grew up loving Hitchcock. So like the gory horror isn't my thing. I watch a lot of Dateline. So there's something quite off for me, I think. But yeah, you're right. There is a bit of a parallel. I mean, I did Goosebumps, Are You Afraid of the Dark, Jigsaw, Rabid. Like there's been a lot of that. Even my sci-fi work has very dark elements to it. And I think I'm drawn to that. I don't necessarily go out there and look for it, but that's just what I'm drawn to. But yeah, I usually tend to lean towards that when I want to choose something to watch as well.
Well, and I also thought that there was an interesting precursor to Rabid. So in Rabid, you play a woman who goes under this experimental stem cell treatment and emerges healed and more confident, and life seems like it's looking up. But you also wake up with a bloodthirst that can't be quenched very easily.
Right.
And so I thought back and I looked it up because your character Lisa in V actually ate someone as well, right? So there's a line there that you can draw as well.
Yeah, my character Lisa in V, which was a show on ABC with Scott Wolf, Elizabeth Mitchell, Marina Baccarin, like an amazing cast, Morris Chestnut. At the end of our season, before we knew we were returning, my character, or my evil twin, if you want to call it, ate my boyfriend. So yeah, it seemed to do a lot of damage wherever I go. Yeah. There's always blood on set on my projects.
Yeah, that's right. And is it uncomfortable? I was on a set once. I was telling Michael Grey Eyes the other day, he's in Blood Quantum right now. And as you can imagine, there are buckets of blood in that thing. And I was telling him that once I was on a set of a zombie movie and everyone was covered in blood. It was in the summer and the flies were terrible. They were just attracted to this goopy, syrupy stuff. Yeah.
It's not pleasant. I did a show called Bitten. We had for 3 seasons, and there was an episode where I have a waking, a nightmare where I'm drenched in blood. And so on set, when we were preparing for that scene, they just put a tarp on the ground and had me stand on it and just doused me. And that was fine. It was cold. And then I'm sitting in like almost a Game of Thrones chair. And when we were done shooting, my arms were stuck to the leather and like the skin was peeling off. And so, yeah, long story short, it's not pleasant, especially when you have to drink it.
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah.
Well, do you keep that in mind after that experience? I don't know that I'd ever sign up for anything again.
I'm happy to do. I'm happy to just work and like I said, it's what I'm drawn to. And even with prosthetics, no pain, no gain. If it helps the character, it helps the show, I'm all for it.
Tell me a little bit about the makeup that you wear in Rabid. So there's a terrible accident that happens and we see you afterwards and you're bandaged up. And I was frankly unprepared for what I saw when the bandages came off.
It's pretty graphic, yeah.
Yeah, and tell me a little bit about that. Is it one of those situations where you're sitting in the makeup chair for 4 hours while they completely transform your face?
Yeah, if I recall, it was like originally a 3-hour process, and then our prosthetics team, Masters FX, got it down to an hour and a half. So they worked really hard. There's always two people working on you at a time. And I love it.
Oh, do you? Yeah.
I love it. I wasn't sure what to expect, but when I saw the way that it had turned out and what it did to my mood, and I use that as a tool as an actor. You know, it only helps me, and the more graphic, the better in this situation. We want the audience to cringe. That's what Rabid is. That's what Cronenberg would want, and they did a fantastic job. The only thing was with the way the prosthetic was placed, my teeth, I had false teeth on the outside, which was basically a mouth guard, right? So like, think of your sleeping night guard if you have one. Was over top of the prosthetic, so I couldn't talk, I couldn't open my mouth, which was great as an introvert. I got to be in my own world, but we had to take it out every opportunity we could get, because the saliva would start forming, because it would just in the bottom of the prosthetic. So every time they took it out, it was disgusting, but it's part of the experience.
People think making movies is glamorous.
I don't think I've had a glam experience on any projects to this date. It's usually just like blood, sweat, and tears.
That's right.
Tell me more about these meat cravings.
It's not just the meat, it's the blood. There's something about it.
How's your appetite?
I'm hungry all the time. I can't keep anything down. I have these severe stomach pains. When the pain is too much, that's when the hallucinations start, and I see myself.
Please. Miss Miller.
I'm drinking blood.
Tell me about working with the Soska sisters. Their American Mary is an incredible film. This film has a real point of view, and one of the things that I like about this film is that it follows the Cronenberg story pretty much, sort of beat for beat, but it is internally a different film, because it is more about, from my take anyway, your character coming to grips with this thing that's happened that she doesn't understand, that doesn't make sense, and I think that brings a more humanity to a story about someone who eats people.
Yeah, I think because this, we had female directors on this one. The entire film was through the female gaze. So there were obvious choices that were made with female directors to have their lead, Rose, be more empowered with the situation. I mean, yes, she's a meek wallflower until she, has the accident and comes out the other end with these cravings. But if you think of the original and the way that women were shot then, and the sexualization of how women were portrayed versus what we did with the film, which is, the woman was in control and the men were trying to use her. And I just love the way that Ben Hollingsworth was the lead male actor, and he's an incredible Canadian actor. We've known each other for years. And I think this, our directors kept saying to him, don't play your instincts. The man's always wanting to protect the woman and take over her space, and they wanted him to do the exact opposite. I mean, he had to go against all of his natural instincts because they were looking to tell a specific story. And I think they did a great job.
Did you watch the original, or is that a detriment to you as you're trying to create the character of Rose and walk through your own telling of the story? Would it have been a mistake to watch the original?
I didn't watch the entire original. I wanted to get an idea of the context of what the film was in the 70s,
Yep,
I believe it was.
1977. Yeah.
And just to get an idea of how Rose was portrayed then. But I didn't want to watch the entirety of the film. I knew what we were doing was different, and I had that source if I wanted to go back to it. But the directors were very clear in certain parts of the script where they were paying homage to Cronenberg. So I knew, we're doing, even though this doesn't feel like it fits, we're doing this as like a nod to Cronenberg right now. Like the fur jacket when she's out hunting. I mean, we tried to mirror a lot of the images of her in the bathroom on the floor in the original, we did that, you know, in her dining room, but we tried to match things just so that the fans of the original could cheer that on.
Tell me about The Age of Dysphoria, which is a short film that you've made, and it's very important to you.
It is. So ready for my heart to just bleed out right now. Speaking of blood, Age of Dysphoria was a film that we shot last year in Toronto. It was directed by Jessica Patel, who's an incredible female director, obviously, and I've worked with her both on Bitten and V-Wars. And while we were shooting V-Wars, we were doing some pickup scenes. I kind of cornered her and I said, I have an idea and it's a passion project. I'd love for you to direct it. So every moment on set when we had a chance to jump into a corner and chat about this, we were building on the idea. And Age of Dysphoria is a concept that had sort of come to me over the past few years, mainly based on the fact that I wanted to work with Canadian icon Gordon Pinsent, who's been my mentor since I was on Goosebumps. He actually came to my first day on Goosebumps. He rolled up in a golf cart. It's my trailer and gave me advice. He's a distant relative, the only person I knew in the business. And so he's been my mentor for 22 years. And I'd never had a chance to work with him. So I wanted to create a short film about myself as an actor and him. So an elderly individual and a 30-something girl. And I knew I wanted it to be dark. I knew I wanted it to be real, about human relationships, no sci-fi, no fantasy, just two people trying to figure out life. And they're joined by a tragedy that has happened in both of their lives, but it's very vague throughout the film, intentionally, as to how they know one another. And you find out, you know, Gordon's character has dementia, Alzheimer's, and so it's meant to take the audience on a journey of uncertainty until it becomes very clear, and it's heartbreaking as to why they know each other. And everything just kind of came together, and that never happens. We got our sets. So yeah, 3 days, shot it. It looks great. We had the person, the colorist from The Shape of Water do our film. So yeah, we were about to start our film festival run, and you know, that didn't happen currently.
So
But
what will happen to the film now? Will you just wait until we figure out what's happening and maybe do the film festival circuit next year, or what happens now?
Well, every festival is sort of figuring that out as we speak. A lot of them have gone to at-home festivals, so you can watch it online. And we are involved in Super Channel is doing a festival now that will be airing for fans, so we will be playing soon on your TVs. You can watch the film, but we still want to have our big Canadian premiere, which would have been the Canadian Film Fest. So fingers crossed we'll get something in the new year. But, you know, it's just the timing's unfortunate, but at least we're still trying to get the film out to the fans. And we do have the intention of making it into a fefeature film in time as well.
Last question. Do you have any hand washing tips for people?
Oh my gosh, do you? What do you do? What's your go-to?
Okay, here's my thing. So years ago, when the movie Contagion opened, I went to Los Angeles and I interviewed the whole cast, and Matt Damon told me that when most people wash their hands, you do this, right? You're sort of doing, you're rubbing your hands together, you miss part of the back, and your thumbs. Your thumbs, apparently, the way you do it, don't really get washed particularly well. So ever since then, I've been careful to try and cover the entire hand. It's simple but effective.
Yep. And in this house with the kids, we're doing 3 rounds of happy birthday, but quick happy birthdays.
Yep.
But yeah, I try to get them to do the backs as well. Like I don't have any special techniques. I've seen people online doing silly things that, you know, also clean your counters while you know, but I have nothing. Just frickin' stay home and wash your hands.
That's right. Laura, thanks so much for spending some time with us.
Yeah, of course. Thank you. And I'm a big fan. So thanks for allowing me to come on here and chat about my projects.
It's my pleasure. Thanks. And I hope that Agent Dysphoria, we get to see it on a big screen somewhere.
I hope so too. And I will say real quick, I have another short that we did a few years ago that's now available online on YouTube, on Vimeo, I believe, called Unspeakable.
Okay.
So we just released that after a couple of years, and we were like, now's the time.
Yep.
So you can also check that out.
Well, people want content right now.
Yeah, and I want to keep producing and developing, and this gives me an opportunity to start working on that stuff as well.
Take care of yourself.
You too.
Wash your hands. Be well. Healthy. That's right.
The thumbs.
And we'll talk to you again soon.
All right. Thank you so much.
Thanks, Laura. Bye.
Bye.
That was Laura Vandervoort. If we learned two things from this interview, the first would be that you should be checking out Rabid on VOD this weekend. Laura's really good in it. She plays a woman who is torn between her human side, her human emotions, and the blood-sucking side of her that came out after this procedure. It's good stuff. You want to see it, and you can find it wherever you legally rent or download movies. The second thing that we learned from this is if you're ever on a film set, don't drink the fake blood. My thanks to Laura for swinging by and spending some time with us remotely. Most of all, though, my thanks to you. I know you have a lot of options about how to spend your time while in self-isolation, and I'm thrilled that you chose to spend some of that time with us. Till we speak again, stay healthy, stay happy, and stay safe. We'll talk to you again soon.